Should we ban trans athlete participation in sports competitions of their preferred gender? Today, this question has the potential to ruin parties and relationships and wreak havoc on our favorite social network. It's a hell of a risky topic. An honest opinion on it can get you cancelled in a matter of hours. I'm a critical thinking professor, and I'm perhaps risking my tiny online rep to tell you this. Most people, yes, even the loud ones, miss the point entirely. Why? Because they don't understand statistical distributions. Stick with me, it will help you understand this issue better. In his recent show, the comedian John Oliver weighed in, defending trans athletes. His point? There is no evidence they ruin fairness. He said this interesting thing.
But in general, there's a lot of overlap in the average performance ranges of men and women. Basically, it is not the case that any man is going to be stronger or more athletic than every woman, which is sometimes what gets implied here.
In other words, individual variation within both genders undermines the argument that trans athletes pose a fundamental threat to fairness. To him, variation within groups, like me versus LeBron James instead of LeBron versus Caitlin Clark, proves these differences are natural and not a trans issue. And Oliver is right, critics often ignore this nuance. But is this a knockout punch to the critics? Unfortunately, no. First, let's acknowledge an uncomfortable truth. All sports are built on biological inequality. Some people are simply born with physical traits that make them better suited for certain sports, longer limbs, faster reflexes, or higher oxygen uptake. That's what we called the natural lottery. We tolerate these built-in disparities. Otherwise, sports would become a dull, over-engineered exercise in calibration. Imagine sorting athletes by femur length or lung capacity. We'd strip the spontaneity and joy right out of competition. So yes, we allow outliers, but some differences between male and female bodies are not just outliers, they are statistically significant. To understand why this matters, you need a basic grasp of something called statistical distributions. A statistical distribution is just a way of visualizing how a trait, like height, is spread across a population. For instance, the average adult woman in the US is around 5'4", while the average man is about 5'9". But individuals vary. Some women are taller than most men, and vice versa. This kind of variation forms what statisticians call a normal distribution, a bell-shaped curve where most people cluster around the average, and fewer fall at the extremes. When we plot men's and women's traits by side, like height, strength, muscle mass, we see overlapping bell curves. Here I plotted height. Women are on the left, represented by an orange curve. Men are on the right, in blue. In the middle you see the overlap. This overlap is real. That's John Oliver's point. This leads him and many others to take individual examples of women who are faster, stronger, or taller than some men and say, see, it's not true that all men are more athletic than all women. These examples show that excluding trans athletes from their preferred competitions makes no sense. I recently had a debate on X with someone who shared this video of an exceptionally tall teenager crushing his much shorter opponents and arguing that if we allow these differences, we should extend the same to trans athletes. But this claim misses the point and shows a misunderstanding of distributions and their central tendencies. The crucial thing here is that while outliers always exist, the centers of those curves are different. That difference matters. Even if some women outperform some men, the averages don't lie. Male-bodied athletes, on the whole, have measurable advantages in strength, speed, and endurance due to testosterone-driven development during puberty. So what happens if we ignore these differences? The bell curves help us predict. Over time, even small shifts in the averages would tilt the competitive field, subtly, then overwhelmingly. But could we instead sort athletes by other traits like height, weight, oxygen intake? In theory, yes, but in practice, we'd end up with hyper-specialized leagues, a 5'6" division, a 145-pound league, a wingspan bracket. Add strength metrics and you've got a whole jungle of micro-competitions that nobody wants to watch. And let's be honest, what fans want are high-stakes games, not algorithmic matchups. That's why we use broad categories like gender. They are imperfect, but they strike a balance between fairness and practicality. So where does this leave trans athletes? Right where they have always been, within messy human judgment. It's not about denying anyone's identity, it's about recognizing how statistical patterns shape fairness on the sports field. You can affirm trans rights and have an honest conversation about the role of physical advantage in competitive sports conferred to us by our sex at birth. This is Think Why, where we cut through the noise, question assumptions, and learn how to think better. See you in the next one.